Mortal Kombat has, in its essence, always strived to be one thing: a really good fighting game. Hitting the arcades in 1992, aka the year that I was born, Mortal Kombat knocked the entire planet on its ass and then lit the world on fire, becoming an instant bestseller and being nominated as one of the greatest games of all time. And in its heyday, it even rivaled one of the most influential games ever, Street Fighter II. Of course, there were a few main differences between the two giants, one being the use of digitized graphics to give it a more realistic and lifelike feel, and the other being the absolute over-the-top amount of gore and violence. The game was in fact so violent that they created a rating system just to make sure that kids never played something like this again, which, I dare say, is pretty badass. But with such a great start, Mortal Kombat did something that a lot of other franchises would fall victim to: the single greatest curse in gaming history. And the reason why a lot of franchises that we loved in the 90s were dead on arrival in the early 2000s. So today, let's jump into Mortal Kombat and the Curse of Innovation. Sounds like a fucking Harry Potter book, huh? The 90s were a powerful time in gaming history. But in these transformative years in gaming, with so many franchises jumping out of the woodwork, there was an underlying demon in the woods. And that was the need to be innovative to an unparalleled degree. When you look at the last 20 years of gaming, sure, there has been some innovation, and of course things have gotten fucking phenomenal. I mean, some games look more HD than I do, and I'm like a dude. But the rate in which we've changed over time has slowed. For games released in the 90s, however, they had to deal with an insane technological boom. I mean, games are making the jump from 2D to 3D, which was a puzzle that a lot of game devs weren't gonna solve. Imagine being a first grader and sitting in your cute little math class and finally figuring out what 2 plus 3 is. And the second you get the right answer, the teacher goes, "All right, bitch, now we're doing calculus. And guess what, buddy? If you pass this test, we will give you $1 million. Unfortunately, Mortal Kombat took the bait. If you can't tell, Mortal Kombat was the kid in this scenario. I mean, why wouldn't they? Staying 2D in the era of dazzling 3D graphics was just asking to be left behind. In Mario 64, you could literally play with Mario's face, and you're telling me to go back to this? The choice seemed clear. You either take the test or you get drowned out by your lack of innovation. And unfortunately, even though Mortal Kombat is one of my favorite franchises of all time, and it's hard for me to say this as a super fan, Mortal Kombat failed this test every single time. As I go through this list of games, there are 3 things I really want to make clear. Number 1, we're not talking about spin-offs because that's a whole nother video altogether. Number 2, obviously I can't dive too deep into every game for time's sake, but if you guys like the video, let me know in the comment section and maybe we'll come back and revisit it. And number 3, did you know that the majority of the people watching this video aren't subscribed? If you subscribe to the channel, you really help me out. I put my heart and soul into every video, and I think that you would enjoy joining the brigade. All right, let's get into it. Mortal Kombat 4, originally released in 1997, was MK's first dive into the 3D realm. And honest to God, this game was a piece of shit and ass. The weapon system made no sense, the characters moved like they just ripped a fat line of cocaine, and Liu Kang, oh my god, Liu Kang's voice lines were racist. Let's take a listen to that sweet, sweet fake Chinese. Sounds like a goddamn Animal Crossing villager, huh? Another interesting tidbit about this game: if you did too much damage in a short amount of time, your character would just bail out to stop you from killing the enemy too fast. Which is literally a failsafe for terrible balancing. This isn't fucking Tony Hawk. What are you ruining my combo for? The only redeeming factor of this game was seeing characters do fatalities in 3D and some of the funniest cutscenes I have ever seen in my fucking life.
Fulfilling. By killing him, you saved us the trouble. Both you and Scorpion were pawns for Shinnok. Scorpion!
Our battle is finished. You are now freed from my curse. Live well, Lin Kuei warrior.
Mortal Kombat Deadly Alliance, released in 2002, was another beast altogether. At this point, Mortal Kombat should have been comfortable with 3D game design, and technically they were. But it came with another slew of issues, which proved that sometimes reinventing the wheel just leaves you with a gang of cinder blocks. In this rendition of bad innovation, they added an entirely new style system to feign depth. But in reality, it just made your character play like 2 halves of different characters instead of one concise design. This would become prevalent in the next few games in the franchises, and it would be just as bad. They also added Conquest Mode, which was their attempt at an adventure mode, but it was literally just a tutorial for every character. Nobody wanted that shit. The final thing they tried to peddle was the crypt, which was a way to unlock characters, Easter eggs, art, etc., and it was pretty interesting. Though the crypt was the main reason why I kept playing this game as a kid, it offered nothing to the core gameplay, which again was shit and ass. The last thing I want to say about this one is, do you know that they started it by killing off Liu Kang? You can't fucking do that. That's the main character of the series. Could you imagine if Justice League released a movie where Superman was dead? That wouldn't do... Oh my god. Now, Mortal Kombat Deception, released in 2004... What the fuck? Following the same stinky, shitty, boo-boo concept as before, this game tried to be innovative by adding... stage hazards. Stage hazards, ladies and gentlemen. And somewhere deep inside my heart, I feel like at this point, the devs knew what they were doing. Because it was so stupid. Now all you had to do to win was stand by a stage hazard, wait for them to swing, and then uppercut them in. Truly, truly interactive stuff. At least they finally added an actual adventure mode, right? Wrong! It's just an overworld with fetch quest and more tutorials. But to their credit, they did add puzzle combat, which was cute as shit, and chess combat, which I enjoyed. And now for our final game on the list, Mortal Kombat Armageddon, released in 2006. Do the characters still have the same terrible style system? They do. Do the levels still have wonky stage hazards? Of course. Does the game still feel like controlling two rock'em sock'em robots on cocaine? Duh. Surely at this point, someone at Midway realized how bad the game was and tried to start it again from the ground up, right? No. No. Their big, innovative technique this time around was air combos. I'm sorry, air combos. With a K, because it's Mortal Kombat. Now, the air combos basically meant that the game boiled down to one thing. Doing a simple string to knock your opponent into the air, and then jumping after them and pressing the same string of buttons over and over again until you could do 30% of their health. They looked cool. Don't get me wrong, they looked cool, but they had literally no depth. It was like a parent dangling shiny keys in front of their baby. And that's what this game boiled down to, pretending to be good. They had a story mode which was okay, but very obviously rushed. They had the largest roster in MK history with 64 characters, and they were all the same. But you know the one thing this game did have going for it? Motor combat. I'm not joking. And with that, we have come full circle. I know what some people are saying in the comments already, but Scooch, what about Mortal Kombat vs. DC Universe? And if you want me to review that game, get out of my house. Get out of my house. Mortal Kombat 9 was when the collective consciousness in Midway/NetherRealm Studios finally said, holy fuck, guys, this shit was bad. And they returned to the basics. No, I mean, they really returned to the basics. Like the main story of MK9 was to literally retcon all the other games. I'm not joking. It's the most self-aware shit I've ever seen. And since then, Mortal Kombat has been doing infinitely better by doing its original formula in a much better way. Mortal Kombat X was their best-selling Mortal Kombat, only to be surpassed by Mortal Kombat 11, and I'm excited that the future of these games looks very bright. And I made this video because it shows something that's very interesting that plagued one of my favorite franchises of all time. It goes to show that innovation can be good, but if companies let the need to be new overpower the need to be great, then the end product will oftentimes be soulless doo-doo that we can laugh about in a YouTube video 10 years later. I'm Scooch, and I hope you enjoyed this random rant about a game franchise that I really love, because I had a lot of fun writing it, and I had a lot of fun making it too. If you haven't subscribed, think about subscribing, because I think you'll enjoy your stay here. And I think that's all I gotta say, so live free, my Lin Kuei warrior.